Welcome to a world where royal truths, hidden protocols, and European history come alive. This is your daily gateway into Princess Leonor's journey, the Spanish monarchy and royal dramas. In today's video we dive into a happily ever after love story of Princess Leonor who marries her Prince Charming. Stay till the end for full details. Like and subscribe for more daily royal update. Happily ever after begins with a quiet expectation. A princess preparing for duty. A kingdom watching. A destiny unfolding. Then something shatters the familiar. Something no one predicted. Love arrives where protocol once ruled. And the story everyone assumed would follow changes. Because this time, the future Queen of Spain chooses her heart, not the script written for her. This is the moment Princess Leonor marries her Prince Charming. Not the fairy tale from picture books, but the living, breathing love story that reshaped the House of Bourbon, the corridors of Zarzuela, and the expectations of a nation. A wedding whispered about for years. A romance doubted, questioned, analyzed. And yet, here it stands. Unshakable, unfolding before millions. The beginning of their forever. Everything begins long before the aisle. Leonor had grown up under the high ceilings of duty. Each step measured, each word weighted, each gesture recorded by a country that saw her as its future. But behind the titles and the ceremonies, she was a young woman learning how to carry a crown while searching for someone who could see her beyond it. Someone who didn't bow to the heir, but spoke to the girl. Their meeting wasn't staged by diplomats or royal councils. It wasn't arranged through tradition or convenience. It happened in the quiet spaces where real life hides. Far from cameras. Far from headlines, in the unexpected crossing of two worlds that should never have touched, yet somehow did. He wasn't born in a palace. He didn't belong to a dynasty. His last name didn't carry centuries of history. But his presence unsettled the carefully managed expectations around Leonor. He was calm where the world demanded perfection, steady where pressure mounted, and for the first time, she felt seen, not evaluated. That connection sparked whispers. Whispers grew into speculation, and speculation hardened into criticism. The palace remained silent. Leonor did not publicly, but within herself. She chose to protect the story unfolding between them. A story too fragile for headlines. Too sacred for the noise of public opinion. While Spain debated, she built a quiet love that would eventually move nations. Curiosity builds here. How does a royal romance survive scrutiny? How does a future queen defend her heart without losing the respect of her people? What no one knew then was that the royal family itself was divided. Some believed in tradition, others believed in Leonor's judgment. Queen Letizia recognized the expression in her daughter's eyes. A mirror of her own past, a battle she once fought, and won. King Felipe carried the weight of heritage, yet he also saw the strength in his daughter's choices. He knew she could not lead a country if she could not first lead her own life. Still, doubts lingered, advisors whispered, protocol experts warned, and yet the relationship kept growing. Strong, steady, unshakable. Each obstacle became another tie between them. Each challenge became a stitch in the fabric of their future. And then the turning point arrived. After years of speculation, tension, and quiet support inside the family, Felipe and Letizia invited him to Zarzuela. Not as a guest, not as a curiosity, but as someone their daughter might one day stand beside as queen. That meeting didn't leak. There were no photographs. But it changed everything. Respect formed. Understanding grew. And for the first time, Leonor's path to the throne aligned with her path to happiness. A new curiosity rises. How does a royal engagement begin when nothing about the couple's relationship followed the expected script? There was no dramatic public proposal. No staged photoshoot. No glittering announcement in front of cameras. It began with a private moment. A conversation about future responsibilities. A promise to face the weight of the crown together. A question asked quietly. A yes whispered through tears. A beginning that felt human, not ceremonial. When the announcement finally reached Spain, the world froze. Headlines erupted. Critics reconsidered. Supporters celebrated. And the royal household released a single statement, crafted with precision and warmth. It spoke of love, respect, and a future Leonor was ready to embrace. The nation felt the shift. This wasn't a fairy tale fantasy. It was a grounded, mature love story rooted in the realities of royal life. Preparations began with a blend of tradition and personal choice. The wedding would not be extravagant for extravagance's sake. It would be elegant, meaningful, and deeply Spanish, infused with Leonor's values and the quiet simplicity of the man she had chosen. Europe's royal families circled the date. The Spanish people marked their calendars. And the world wondered how the heir to one of the oldest thrones on the continent would walk into marriage. Curiosity deepens again. What would the wedding day look like? How would the tension between royalty and modernity resolve? What emotions would reveal themselves when the cameras finally rolled? The morning of the wedding arrived wrapped in soft light. Spain woke early. Streets filled. Flags lifted. Madrileños crowded near the cathedral hours before the first carriage appeared. The air carried a sense of history, but also something gentler, hope. The hope of a future queen who understood her people because she built her life with authenticity. Inside the palace, Leonor dressed in silence. Not the silence of nerves, but the silence of realization. Every step of her journey had led to this room. Her gown blended royal tradition with modern grace, the fabric carrying embroidery inspired by the women who shaped Spain's monarchy. Queen Letizia adjusted the final details. Felipe watched from a respectful distance, pride glimmering beneath his composed exterior. Her sister Sofia hugged her with the joy only siblings understand. Then the moment arrived. Leonor stepped into the corridor. Guards straightened. Advisors paused. Every eye softened. She wasn't simply the princess of Asturias anymore. She was a bride walking toward the life she had chosen. The cathedral doors opened to a sea of faces and emotion. Spain rose to its feet. Cameras flashed. Bells rang across Madrid. And at the end of the aisle stood the man who had weathered scrutiny, criticism, and the silent weight of monarchy for her. He looked at her as if the world had narrowed to a single point. A look unbothered by titles. A look that anchored her. Their vows were simple, deep, honest. The words carried the weight of responsibility and the warmth of real affection. When they sealed their promises, the cathedral erupted into applause. Not polite applause. Applause that rumbled like a heartbeat across the country. They stepped out as husband and wife. Spain celebrated. Europe watched. And the world realized that this love story had become more than romance. It had become a new chapter for a monarchy stepping into its future. Their carriage rolled through Madrid. Children waved Spanish flags. Elderly couples cried softly. Friends of the groom looked stunned by the magnitude of the moment. And Leonor held his hand tightly, knowing the life ahead would test them, lift them, strengthen them. But they were ready. Curiosity loops continue. What comes next for a couple destined not only for a life together but for a throne? How does love survive royal duty? How does responsibility coexist with intimacy? Their journey is just beginning. They settle into married life with a balance of duty and tenderness. They create small routines that anchor them. Late-night conversations after state dinners, quiet coffees before public engagements, laughter shared between protocol briefings. He supports her training with diplomacy. She supports his adjustment to public life. Their partnership becomes a powerful symbol for Spain's future. Family dynamics shift. Sofia becomes not just a sister but a trusted confidant. Letizia guides Leonor through the delicate art of being both sovereign and wife. Felipe shares the wisdom earned through years of leadership. And in-laws are introduced to a world of protocol, security, and tradition they never imagined. The public slowly embraces the new consort. Not because of a noble birthright, but because of humility, grace, and sincerity. Spain begins to see what Leonor saw, a man strong enough to stand beside a queen without overshadowing her. Years will unfold, challenges will appear, but the foundation they built will hold. Because this isn't the fantasy ending from childhood stories. It's the earned, lived, resilient kind of happily ever after. The kind created through loyalty, respect, and the courage to choose love over expectation. Leonor marries her Prince Charming. And they live happily after. Not because fate decided it, but because they wrote their story with intention, heart, and truth. The future of Spain begins with this love. The crown will rest on two steady shoulders. And their happily ever after becomes more than a moment. It becomes a legacy.